Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues. We'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, NFC East family business on the docket, week 3, back-to-back weeks of NFC East family business coming down the pipeline for the Washington Commanders as they'll take on the Philadelphia Eagles in week 3, followed by a road trip to Big D to take on the Dallas Cowboys, more likely than not without Dak Prescott. But before we can talk about that game and turn our attention to our true rivalry and hate week, we have to first take care of what has turned into a massive rivalry and hate week for us in the Philadelphia Eagles. It's taken on a little bit more meaning now with Carson Wentz being our quarterback and all of the vitriol that he has withstood this offseason, all of the hate coming from Eagles fans now taking a greater liking to what we have going on over here in our neck of the woods. So it's going to be even sweeter if we can somehow manage to get this dub. That said, the Eagles have beaten Washington the last 8 out of 10 times. And I didn't realize it was that bad. I know there was a stretch there where they had won maybe 5 or 6 in a row. And I remember very vividly saying, I think it was 6 in a row. And I said, we have to beat the Eagles. Okay, they're due for a loss. And that was going into the 2020 season with Ron Rivera. And of course, I guaranteed victory. We beat them in that week 1 contest. We ultimately swept them. If you recall, the week 17 matchup was against Philadelphia. You could say they threw in the towel by putting in Nate Sudfeld. It didn't matter. Jalen Hurts was stinking up the joint. We were going to win that game regardless, but we swept them. Those are the only 2 wins that we have in the last 10. They won 6 in a row prior to those 2 games in 2020 when we swept them, and they swept us last year. Now, last year, those 2 games, I really hate the fact that those games that we played in the division were backloaded the way they were, because look what happened to our season at the end. No telling what would have happened in those games had we met the Eagles earlier in the season, but it is what it is. It happened. They swept us. And so now it feels like, and we've got injuries. We've got things we're dealing with. No excuses, okay? At the end of the day, we're healthy enough. This isn't COVID like last year. This isn't the season has been absolutely torn to shreds and decimated by injuries. We're relatively healthy. We got all the parts that we need to go get the job done. No excuses. We need to beat Philadelphia. They think that they own us, okay? And you know what? I'm getting sick and tired of this. This is a theme. And as a fan of this team, these are the types of stats that drive me nuts, because we always talk about wanting respect. You can't demand respect. You got 1 or 2 things you can do with that. You can either earn it or you can take it. All right? But you can't tell somebody you need to respect me. Why? Why? It seems like we never beat Dallas when they have Dak Prescott. Now that they don't have him, it's a lot more of a probability that we could beat them in week 4, but that's not a guarantee. Cooper Rush is 2-0, right? But I'm sick and tired of losing to Dallas. I just told you the Eagles have beaten us 8 out of the last 10 times, and we can't beat Daniel Jones for the life of us. We barely got him on a Thursday night last year, and if not for Dexter Lawrence jumping off sides, we wouldn't have won that game either. So who the hell can we beat? This shit has to come to an end. It has to stop. Mercifully, it needs to stop. We got to start beating the teams in the division. It's not a rivalry if you don't actually win games. It's just one team kicking the other team's ass. I listened to the players in the locker room, and we'll talk more about that. But there was a sense of urgency this week that I haven't heard from the players this season. And I get it. NFC East game. Ron stresses this every year. Means more. You want to win your division. You got to win these divisional games. On the road to the playoffs, the easiest path is to win the division. In order to win the division, you got to win games inside the division. It's not rocket science. Ron's always put an emphasis on winning divisional games. Even going back to his days as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. A lot of the moves that he made as a head coach were spawned because of the teams he's had to face in the division. Mike Evans, big receiver in Tampa Bay. Julio Jones, big receiver in Atlanta. Michael Thomas, big receiver in New Orleans. So what did he do? He went out and got a big corner in James Bradbury so that he could combat those bigger wide receivers. All in the name of trying to win his division. We got to start winning these games, man. This isn't a road trip to Philadelphia. This isn't a tough, daunting task from a standpoint of, oh man, you're on the road, hostile environment, got to find a way to. We're at the crib. I told you the schedule makers did us a huge favor this year in how they set the schedule up. The only quirk is that the Giants are before the bye and right after the bye, and it's late in the season. But you know what? Give the Giants some time. Maybe they'll stink by the time we get to them. Because right now they're smelling themselves. They're playing with confidence. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe they're actually good this season. Maybe they'll do exactly what we did in year one of Ron and exceed expectations. Now, our division was absolutely god-awful that year, and I don't think that's what the division is going to be this year. But we'll see what the Giants ultimately do. By the time they get to us, Saquon Barkley may be hurt, Daniel Jones may be hurt. They may be a totally different team, and we might smoke them twice. Or we could be a totally different team, and we could get our asses reamed twice. Who knows? But I said all of that to say this. The Eagles have beaten us 8 out of the last 10 times. I don't give a shit about any of that. I'm turning the page now. I'm turning the page on all of these divisional foes. I'm turning the page on all these hoes. It's a new day. It's a new time. We finally got a guy that can distribute the football to the guys that we've gotten him. And we got a ton of guys for him to get the football to. I still got massive questions about this defense. I am a bit more excited today than I was yesterday. I'll tell you why a little bit later on in the show when it comes to the defense. But I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. In the next 2 weeks, we've got an opportunity, and I get it. It's not Dak, and I want Dak so bad because I'm sick and tired of Cowboys fans throwing that stat in our face. But you know what? I can't control when he gets hurt and when we have to play them. That's not my problem. But over the next 2 weeks, we've got an opportunity to do what? What's the thing that I've been talking about all offseason? What's been the rallying cry? We've got an opportunity to change the narrative. I know you guys saw the predictions for the game, and we do this every week. You know why? Because we want respect. Nobody's going to give us nothing. I told you if we want it, we got to take it. All 10 of the guys and gals predicting the game picked the Eagles. I don't blame them. It's not their job to feel sorry for us and say, hey, maybe Washington. No, F that. The Eagles are rolling. They're 2-0. Hurts is playing with confidence. The defense is getting stops. They're turning teams over. Eagles are going to roll over the Washington Commanders. That's the prevailing thought. It could happen, or we could actually show up and make everybody wrong. What are they going to do? I don't know. I know what I'm trying to do. I know what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to celebrate around 4:15 on Sunday afternoon. I'm trying to celebrate. I'm trying to raise my hand and say I'm the victor on Sunday. I don't know what the fellas are trying to do, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to change the narrative. 1 week at a time. We can't change the narrative with one win. But one win at a time, 1 week at a time, we can change the narrative. I've listened to so many predictions for what this team was going to do this season before the season started. And I've listened to them over and over again. And it gets me upset because that's the narrative. Oh, you got Carson Wentz? Cool. Yeah, he sucks. You guys are going to suck. 6 wins, 6-11, 7-10. Best case scenario, 9-8, maybe 10-7, maybe 10-7 if everything goes right. Well, you could put a end to that because we've already got injuries. Everything's not going right. Brian Robinson got shot 2 weeks before the season started. Everything is not going right. Fadarian Mathis is done for the year. Everything is not going right. Chase Roulier is gone for the season. So everything is not going to go right for us. So in their words, best case scenario is already out the window. Because in order to go best case scenario, you got to stay healthy and you got to win the turnover battle, which we're currently losing right now. So throw that shit out the window. Defy all odds. Change the narrative. Let's start doing it. We had a chance to do it last week. We failed. Got another opportunity this week. Change the damn narrative. 8 out of the last 10, F that. Let's start our own streak on Sunday. In other news, we heard from Jack Del Rio, defensive coordinator. Heard from offensive coordinator, Scott Turner. I heard from a lot of players in the locker room. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Cam Curl. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Deron Payne. Heard from a number of different guys in the locker room. So I'll give you the feel of and the pulse of what I'm hearing from the guys in the locker room. I'll talk about what was said by Jack Del Rio and Scott Turner. I thought it was some interesting stuff, especially from Jack. And then we will transition to our next segment, Behind Enemy Lines. But before we do any of that, let's take a look at the injury report for week number 3. It's Thursday, so we're getting close to the end of the week. This is a pivotal day for both teams because if you've got guys that are kind of on the fence, this is the day that they need to show up and actually practice to give you a better sense of where they're going to be come Sunday. So let's take a look. For Washington, nothing earth-shattering here. I think we expected everything that we got here. Casey Toohill, and this is via Ben Standing of The Athletic on Twitter. He says that Casey Toohill, with the concussion, which we already know he's in the concussion protocol. He was seen on the bike today, which is a good thing, which means he's back out at practice, but not actually participating. And Daniel Wise, ankle sprain. We've been talking about him all week long. It's a high ankle sprain, but it's not a severe high ankle sprain. So neither one of those guys are going to play this week. I'm pretty much convinced of that. I think we may be able to get Casey Toohill back next week against Dallas, but I don't foresee him playing this week. I don't rule him out 100% right now, but the likelihood is Casey Toohill's out this week. James Smith-Williams with an abdomen. This is brand new. You know, this is something that wasn't on the injury report yesterday when they hit the field for the first time this week. And he talked to reporters after practice and said, look, I'm fine. He said, I just overworked it. That's all, you know, but I'm good to go. So I'm not tripping. JSW, we can't afford any more guys to be banged up on that defensive line. We're already limited as is. Sounds like he's going to be just fine. And boy, do we need him to be fine because we can't afford any more injuries. Sadiq Charles, shoulder. Obviously, he was on the injury report yesterday as limited again. We're going to need him to be ready to go on Sunday in the event that we have to have someone come in because we're already pushing the depth on the interior of the offensive line as is. You know, with Chase Roulier going down, Wes Schweitzer having to fill in for him at center, that takes your immediate first guard or interior offensive lineman off the board and into the game. So now Sadiq Charles slides into that first interior offensive lineman into the game for either one of the guards. So we need him to be A-okay with that shoulder. But John Allen, groin, Cam Curl, thumb, Wes Schweitzer, hamstring, all practiced in full today. The Schweitzer one is the one that I was really, focused in on because yesterday I told you he went full. The key was how did he respond? How did the hamstring respond to him going a full load workload yesterday? Obviously, It was fine today. He went full again. So that makes me feel good. Scott Turner talked about it. I'll tell you what he said a little bit later on. But that to me is the biggest piece of news we've received all week, outside of the fact that Daniel Wise's ankle injury isn't as severe as initially feared. That's the biggest piece of news that we've gotten this week, is that Wes Schweitzer is going to be able to go, because I think the transition from Wes Schweitzer, which is why I told you I was so excited yesterday, the transition from Chase Roullier to Wes Schweitzer isn't a steep one. And I'll explain. I'll tell you what Scott said, and I think he pretty much speaks for both of us. So I'll get into that here in a second, but let's transition to the Philadelphia Eagles injury report. And look, don't allow the amount of names up here to fool you. We know that this is only 3 guys. We saw the injury report yesterday, and there was 3 names on it. Okay, Avonte Maddox, Hassan Reddick, and Quez Watkins. Those were the 3 names that were on the injury report yesterday. Today, they added 87 guys on the list as limited participants with rest as the reason for them not participating fully in practice. So you be the judge, okay? Now, when I was getting ready for the show and I saw this injury report, 2 things hit my mind, and I know better, okay? But I'm being petty. I said, this is one of 2 things. It's either A, they played on Monday, quick turnaround, short week, want to rest some guys, make sure they're fully ready to go for Sunday, don't want to overwork them when they've had a short work week. Or B, disrespect. If this were Tampa Bay on a short week, is A.J. Brown and Landon Dickerson and maybe Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox, these are your veteran players, but is A.J. Brown a young guy? Is Landon Dickerson a young guy? Brandon Graham, he's a veteran, but young enough to not have to need rest for practice. Are all these guys getting rest if they're playing Tampa Bay this week? If they're playing the Rams, are these guys resting, or are they getting full workload this week? You ask yourself that. I don't know. Stop asking. Look, I know what it is. They played on Monday. You want to give these guys rest to make sure that they're ready to go Sunday. Totally get it. But in my mind, the pettiness, I'm a chip on the shoulder type of guy. I like to, make things up sometimes to motivate. They taking us for granted. They don't respect us. I really truly feel like if this were Tampa Bay, if this were the Rams coming up this week, that these guys aren't on the injury report for rest. They're out there getting after it in practice this week, gearing up for Tom Brady. Anyway, at the end of the day, Avonte Maddox back, Hassan Reddick knee, and Quez Watkins illness. That's all you need to be focused on. All of those guys were limited. All of those guys are playing. There's really nothing to see here. So Scott Turner spoke today, and he talked about the seamless transition, like being excited that Wes Schweitzer is healthy enough to go this week, barring any kind of setback. The last 2 days in practice, he's been a full participant. That's a godsend. And that's why I was so excited yesterday to see that he was a full participant, because the center position is one of the most slept on in terms of importance on the offensive line. A lot of people love to talk about the tackles, but the brains of the operation, the nucleus of what holds the offensive line together, is the center position. And if that pivot position isn't in order, the rest of the line is going to suffer. The quarterback is going to suffer. The run game is going to suffer. There's a lot that goes on there inside. To me, the center position is the central nervous system of the entire offensive line. It controls its movements. It makes sure that it's intact. And it keeps it functioning the way that it's supposed to. Sliding in Wes Schweitzer makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. It's not Chase Roullier. I'd much rather have Chase Roullier out there. I'd much rather have Wes Schweitzer waiting in the wings in case one of the guards can't go. But if you force my hand, which it's been forced, and you tell me, hey, you got to put somebody in at center, I want it to be Wes Schweitzer. So you know how I feel about him. And Scott Turner pretty much said, look, this is a seamless transition. Like, we would much rather have Chase out there. It sucks what happened to him. We hurt for him. him battling all the way back to be ready for week 1, only to be hurt in week 2. It sucks. And Carson Wentz talked about that yesterday. But he said at the same time, Chase was out pretty much all of the offseason, most of training camp. And who do you think was getting those reps at center? Wes Schweitzer. And so Carson Wentz is very familiar with Wes Schweitzer. Schweitzer took most of the reps, as I just mentioned, in OTAs and minis, and probably the first month of training camp while Chase Roullier was still on the mend, Wes Schweitzer was taking all of the reps at center. So this isn't this far-fetched, oh my God, what are we going to do? Wes is capable of filling in and doing an admirable job of taking care of business at the center position. So I feel fine. I don't think we're going to have this massive drop-off. So we just need Wes to stay healthy. And if that happens, we'll be fine up front. Scott talked about, Curtis Samuel and the impact that he's had on the offense. He talked about Carson, just being even keeled this week and, the challenge that is in front of him. He's like, look, I know what it's like to go against a former team, and I know the emotions that I had when I went against some former teams that I coached with. And so I know that's got to be amplified, times 10 with Carson. So I know there's going to be a little bit more there, but, Carson has kept it business as usual. He's locked in, and we feel ready to go. Talked about the run game briefly, about how, they're not going to try to run the football, unnecessarily against certain fronts and looks like, teams like to put in sub packages and things of that nature. I thought somebody should have asked him about the time management at the end of the game. Of course, no one did. Some of these, and again, I'm not a reporter and I don't know how, these things work and what kind of stories you have to write and what you're responsible for. But to me, it just makes more sense to ask him a question like, hey, did you really feel good about the time management on that final drive against the Lions? Just watching football, and you don't have to be disrespectful, with it, but, just watching football over the years, it seems like it makes a little bit more sense to score a touchdown on the other side of the on the 2-minute warning. And so did you think the 2 runs, were the smartest decisions to make in that particular situation? Is that something that you thought about in the moment? I know you thought you probably could get in. He'd already gotten in once. And just see what he says. Maybe he never even thought about that. I'm pretty sure he did. He's a smart guy. But maybe he didn't. I'd like to hear what his thought process was, because they totally botched that. You need to score on the other side of the 2-minute warning there. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was the first thing that jumped in my mind is, why are we running? You run it the first time and you go, okay, you didn't get in. But the second one with 2:12 left, this needs to be a pass. Because you want to score this thing on the other side of the 2-minute warning so you get an additional timeout. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. Anyway, Scott also talked about the Eagles defensively, some of the challenges that they pose. Talked about them having a really good defense, and they're going to have to do things the right way. And really, you hear from the players, and we heard from players this week as well. A lot of them are echoing the same sentiments, which means that this is the message that they're trying to project onto the players this week, and that's, hey, look, 4 quarters, guys. 4 quarters. Consistency, 4 quarters. I heard that from Terry. I heard that from Jahan. I heard that from Scott. 4 quarters. Haven't played 4 quarters yet. Got to play 4 quarters. That's what I've been saying. 4 quarters, guys. We've only played 2 quarters. We've played 4 quarters total this season, offensively. Problem with that is there's been 8 quarters this season. But we've only played in 4 of them. So this is the perfect game to show up and participate for all 4 quarters. Get off to a faster start. Don't take your foot off the gas pedal. take that momentum that you build early in the game, ride it to halftime. Come out of the halftime break, continue with what you did in the first half, and push it all the way through to the finish line. The thing that I love to this point so far is we're 2 for 2 on the coin toss. At some point, that's going to stop, and we're going to get the ball first. This may be the week. I hope I'm wrong. I don't want this to be the week, but you're more likely to lose the toss at home than you are on the road because you don't get to pick. Whatever the case may be, us winning the toss in Detroit saved us. We would have gotten blown out because the defense wouldn't have known. There wouldn't have been a signal to them yet that, hey, we about to fight. So they might have just continued to get their asses reamed. But when we got the ball first in the second half and the offense went down the field and scored a touchdown, that was the signal to the defense, hey, we about to fight. Y'all might want to put up a little bit of something on this next defensive possession. All right, we got y'all. And they did. And then we threw an interception, but they saw us driving again. It was like, okay, they still fighting, so we going to fight. Then we scored a touchdown, cut it to a one-score game, and they say, hey, we ain't got no more left. We gave you everything we had. Y'all wasted that one possession when he threw the pick. That was the one that would have allowed us to tie the game up. We ain't got no more for you. 4 quarters is what Scott was hammering home. So you go to Jack Del Rio. I thought Jack's presser, they're always fun because Jack's not going to give you anything. But Jack gave us some stuff last week. And I thought there were some little subtle, things in here that if you blinked or you were on your phone, on your mobile device, you missed it. But if you were paying attention, as I often am during these pressers, then you caught it. And I'm a big body language guy. I'm a big you read between the lines guy. And I hear everything that is said. Sometimes, I may draw an inference from something that may not be there, may or may not be there. But here's what Jack essentially said. And I think he made it a point of emphasis to say this. And then if you were trying to guess or speculate, he shut that faucet off and told you exactly what you needed to hear. So initially, Jack said, look, we have to get a lot of things corrected. That we've done some good things, but we also have to be better. And we're continuing to teach. We're continuing to grow. We're not where we want to be. But we, and he said we with an emphasis, we have to be better. And we'll continue to work to get to that point. And we feel like we're making some strides. I do as well. I know a lot of you think that this defense is just horrendous. They're terrible. I disagree. Okay. This time last year, the defense was way worse. Way worse. And to me, it's not even comparable. Because the third down defense was atrocious last year. We couldn't get off the field. We've gotten stops this year, obviously by the 28%, third down defense that we're putting up right now. Clearly, we're getting off the field. Okay? We're 4th in the league right now on third down defense. So we're getting off the field. It's just the explosive plays. They've been a problem, and this is not the week to have explosive plays be the problem because we're going up against a team that is leading the league in explosive plays this season. So if you're going to clean it up, this is the week that you're going to have to really pay attention to the details and really lock in because it could be another Detroit game and you could have 6, 7 explosives get dropped right on your head and you look up and Eagles have 35 points if you're not careful. So, Jack talked about that, but he said we every time. And he said we, and he went out of his way to put extra emphasis on the we. Then he was asked individually, and this is the trap he fell into last week, and usually Jack is pretty good about not falling into any traps. Last week, he fell into the Jamin Davis trap. Hook, line, and sinker, they got him. They got you, dude, they got you. This week, and the scuttlebutt that came up this week with the IG post from Jamin Davis and, Ben Standig said he talked to Jamin Davis in the locker room and Davis said that, the post was an inside joke and that, It wasn't a shot at any of the coaches or anything like that. And him and Jack Del Rio laughed about it. Ha ha ha. Sounds like damage control to me, but whatever. Cool. I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it because honestly, I don't give a shit. All right. I care about winning football games. So Jack was asked about William Jackson III's play. Nikki Javala said, so, how do you feel like William Jackson III has played, last year and then, the first 2 weeks this year? How do you think that William Jackson, he said, okay, look, I'm going to just go ahead and let y'all know right now. I'm going to go ahead and nip this in the bud. I'm not going to be doing individual player analysis and evaluations of our own guys. I'm not doing that. It doesn't benefit us to talk about what guys are or aren't doing. We, as a collective group, have to be better. We've done some good things, some things we can build upon, but we're still growing, we're still learning, but we have to be better, and we will. I like it. And you know what that was in response to, right? So that's dead now. And anybody that tries to come, he's going to refer back to that. Talked about Jalen Hurts and, what he brings to the table. Talked about his development and growth. He said he looks more comfortable. He's operating the offense way more efficiently now. And so, we know about the challenges that, lie ahead in trying to defend him in this Eagles offense and all of the things that they bring to the table. He talked about the offensive line and them being, one of the best in football, which they are. Talked about all the weapons that they have offensively: A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts. This is a stacked offense that we're going against this week, and you got to bring your hard hat and your lunch pail, and they're going to make plays. Like, we know that. The job is to limit the amount of big plays that they make, limit the amount of impact plays that they have, and see if you can't frustrate them, see if you can't force a turnover or two, and we'll see what they are able to do this week defensively. I'm a little bit more encouraged, and I'm going to tell you why here in a second, but heard from Jahan Dotson, heard from Terry McLaurin, heard from Daron Payne, heard from Cam Curl, and the prevailing thought was this is a big game, this is a big week. They said the energy in practice was lively, it was a little bit up. They talked about, the message that, and Ron, I know Ron when it comes to divisional games. He's really big. He's a stickler for division games, as he should be. But the players kind of sense how big this game is. And you hear it to a man that this is a big one. We got to find a way to get it. And I like what I'm hearing from the players. Cam Curl is so juiced up to get in the game. He wanted to play week 1. He wanted to play week 2. He's like, my regular season debut got delayed, but I'm ready. And I think he's going to make a big impact in week 3. That's part of the reason why I'm so optimistic that we can do some things, is because I think he's going to have a huge impact on this defense. Not only in the run game, but just being more. He's one of the smartest players we have defensively, along with Kendall Fuller. Those two, to me, are the smartest defenders that we have on this defense. And Cam Curl is physical. He attacks, the offense. And I just think his presence on the field is going to free up some other guys to maybe make some plays. And I think he's going to have an impact in his first game back. So we'll see what it's about and what that's worth. But let's move on to behind enemy lines. So no guest this week, just me. All right. Got some things to discuss with this Eagles team as we go behind enemy lines. Look, it's family business. I could have brought a guest on, and I did reach out to someone. They never hit me back, which is fine. I wasn't tripping, and I probably should have reached out earlier. But guess what? This is family business. If anybody knows the Eagles, if anybody knows the Giants, if anybody knows the Cowboys, it's me. Okay. So I don't need to go talk to somebody else about these teams because I know them. That said, the Eagles offensively, and this is the thing that a lot of you are concerned about, as you should be, okay? I'm concerned about the Eagles offense against our defense. Probably to a lesser degree than some of you out there. A lot of you are, oh my God, the Eagles are going to kill us. Jalen Hurts is going to do this, he's going to do that. We'll see. That said, the Eagles come into this game offensively, leading the NFL in explosive plays. We talked about explosive plays and what constitutes an explosive play on yesterday's show. They've got 28 of them. in the first 2 weeks, which is an asinine number. Look, I told you Washington right now, offensively, we have 12 explosive plays total in the first 2 games. They've got 28, okay? So they've more than doubled our explosive output in the first 2. Now, the difference is we're killing it in the red zone, all right? We're not leaving any points on the field. When we get an opportunity, we're taking advantage of it. We just don't have as many opportunities as other teams have because we haven't been consistent on offense. But they've got 28 explosive plays. That doesn't bode well for a defense that's giving up, on average, 8 explosive plays a game. To see the team that's leading the league, averaging 14 explosive plays a game, coming to town. So we got to clean some shit up, and we got to clean it up fast. Eagles are currently second in the league on third down offense. Okay, they're converting at a 56.7% rate on third down. So essentially 57% of the time it's third down, they're converting. All right, second in the league right now. So again, we're fourth in the league on third down defensively, giving it up 28% of the time. They're converting third downs 57% of the time. Something's gotta give, okay? Either they're going to be drugged down or they're going to light our ass up. One or the other, okay? Can't have it both ways. Either they're going to hold true to what they've done to this point of the season, converting on third downs, or we're going to hold true to form and we're going to yank that 56.7% down to around 39% in this game. We'll see. Number 1 in the league in rush touchdowns. And they've had 6 of them in the first 2 weeks. And look, we know what this is about. You could go ahead and add in, they're second in the league in rush yards per game. They're averaging a shade under 190 at 189.5. Okay? All of this is due to Jalen Hurts. This is the Jalen Hurts effect. His legs are a problem. We've talked about this. I've called him a running back playing the quarterback position. He's played quarterback better this season to this point. We'll see. Again, I don't think he's been sped up in his process. I don't think he's felt real game pressure to this point. He's been an excellent front runner this season. They jumped out on top of Detroit. They jumped out on top of Minnesota. He hasn't felt real game pressure. He'll feel some on Sunday. If he handles it well, I'm going to tip my cap to him and say, hey, maybe it is Hurts season. Or is it Hurts treason? We'll see. But right now, 6 rushing touchdowns. We know Jalen Hurts is a huge part of that. We saw what he did against the Vikings on Monday night. The 190 rush yards. The man had 90 rush yards against the Lions. And I don't know how many he had against the Vikings, but I'd take a guess and say at least 60. He's a huge part of their rush offense. That's not a secret. A.J. Brown is currently second in the league in percentage of his team's pass offense. The only guy that has a larger percentage of their team's pass offense is Justin Jefferson. So A.J. Brown, what I'm essentially telling you is A.J. Brown is their go-to guy. Ron Rivera told you in his press conference on Wednesday that A.J. Brown has 25 catches and like 28 or 29 targets. And the next closest guy has like 11 or 15. Okay? Like, there's a steep drop-off after A.J. Brown, meaning you need to take his ass away or at least minimize the impact that he's going to have. Make Jalen Hurts go to Quez Watkins. Make him go to Devontae Smith. Make him go to Dallas Goedert. Make him go to somebody else. And they got weapons. They can go in other places. Like, they don't have to force it to A.J., but if he's open, we're going to get it to A.J. That's their mindset. So we got to try to limit that. So now you go to the defensive side of the ball for the Eagles. They are the second highest third and out rate team in the league. Currently forcing 3 and outs at a 47.6% clip. That is detrimental to any consistency offensively. We saw the shit firsthand against Detroit. Another one of the things that I heard from the players in the locker room, specifically on the offensive side of the football, was we got to get a first down. We just need one, and then we can get rolling. Terry said it. Jahan said it. Scott Turner talked about the key is getting first downs. The Eagles are among the best in the league at not allowing you to get a first down, getting you off the field 3 and out. We saw the Vikings, and they were a huge part of why the Eagles are where they are defensively. Eagles are, like second or third in the league in turnovers forced because the Vikings, Kirk Cousins threw 3 picks. How many times did they go 3 and out in the first half? I'm talking about the Minnesota Vikings. But again, we struggled in that department against the Detroit Lions in week 2. So that's a big deal. Eagles are right now forcing teams off the field at damn near 50% of the time, 3 and out. We've got to combat that by not allowing them to get off the field 3 and out. Tiring them, wearing them down by forcing them to stay on the field. And I'll say this, Philly is a 6.5 point favorite right now. The line started out at 3.5, and it's continued to balloon all the way up to 6.5 points. Essentially, Vegas is saying, F you. You suck. They're going to smoke you. That's what that means. You're at home, and you're essentially a touchdown dog. Vegas is saying, you suck. They're going to smoke you at your crib. Like a mother effing pack of cools. Okay. Gotcha. Heard you loud and clear. So you know what it is. Nobody believes but us. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it like that. I like it like that. And so that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow as we will get into the keys to the game during the game plan. And finally, my prediction for this game. It's a big one. Everyone in the locker room is saying it. The coaching staff knows it. I've talked about how big of a game this is this week. It's a big one. Eagles are 2-0. Don't want them to start kind of riding off and pushing us further back into the rearview mirror. This is our chance. If you want to race, I don't know about you. When I was a kid, often I would be racing the car. I'm 7, right? I'm in the back seat of the car with my dad, and we're at the stoplight, and the car next to us has no idea, but we're racing, and we're going to smoke their ass. But you got to get even with them first. If the Eagles are 3-1 and we're 1-2, it ain't a race. They're out in front of us, and they're not even worried about us. They could barely see us in the rearview mirror, especially if they beat us at our crib already. So they're 3-0, we're 1-2, and they've got a win over us in the division. They don't even see us at that point. But if we beat them, we're both 2-1 when we leave that game, and we've got a win over them in the division. Oh, we looking right at them, next to them, in the whip next to us, and we starting to pull out ahead of them, and we're like, hey, y'all trying to race? I'm trying to race. I don't know about y'all. I want the Eagles to know. When I was a kid, the other car had no idea we were racing. I want the Eagles to know we racing. Got to show them better than we can tell them. That means tomorrow, I'm going to give you the keys to the game. And hopefully these boys go out and execute and bring home the dub. Until then, though, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Until next time, you guys have a good one. I'll be live tonight for Thursday Night Football overtime, Browns Steelers. If you're not interested in that, I'll see you tomorrow for CNN. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 30.